they're back. They're back. And everything's just fine. I mean, isn't that it? They're back, and everything's fine. I said going into the weekend, it is time to sound alarms if they lose, but if they win, it's all good. And they didn't just win. They won like that. And so my feeling is that the conversation today is sort of about this. I wonder what you would say. I think we know on Mondays, it's a What'd You Think Monday, so you can fire this up as quickly as you want. You're the guest today, 888-957-9570. The 49ers are back. I know that sounds almost like I'm doing it tongue-in-cheek, but I'm not. The 49ers are back. And so the question becomes, with everybody out there, maybe save the Eagles, having shown some sort of warts so far this year. It wasn't just the Niners. It was like the Bengals and the Ravens also doing what they did yesterday and tripping up and having bad weeks. If everybody is at their best, we presume their best, then who's the best?
Well, it comes down to matchups.
Okay.
It's always about matchups.
That's an answer. Yeah.
To me, that's the answer. And you saw it last year. Niners at Philadelphia, NFC Championship game. They were better. The Eagles were better. And if they prove themselves by being better, by physically removing your quarterback, both of them, from the game, then, well, that's part of football. And that's the way that game went. So you had the Niners knock out Brock Purdy, and then they knocked out Josh Johnson. And this year, Sam Darnold is better than Josh Johnson. I think we can all agree to that. But if you get to that same point this year, well, you have Brandon Allen, and they might knock him out too. Philadelphia
I'm already upset that you're bringing up backup quarterbacks' names.
What
I don't even want to think about that.
Is matchups is what this all comes down to. And yesterday, and I had it wrong. I thought the Niners would lose to Jacksonville, but what I didn't realize, what I should have thought about more intimately and in a more detailed fashion, is that it comes down to matchups. And when the Niners are right, that defensive line is as good as any defensive line this side of Philadelphia. And yesterday, they were fresh. The D coordinator was on the sideline. You made a defensive substitution. You varied your packages. You put 10 on the line. You put 8 on the line. You rushed 3. You had them confused. And even when you rushed 3, you still were able to get a sack and take the ball away.
I tell you what, it was like, for a 49er fan, what a Disneyland moment when Chase Young and Nick Bosa meet at Trevor Lawrence. Like, are you kidding me? There's one thing on a Friday that I could have asked for in this game. Hey, Chase, meet me at the quarterback.
Totally.
Dude.
They talked about it.
Meet me at the quarterback. And for those guys to get a half a sack with each other is absolutely the best thing a 49er fan could have hoped for in this game.
So I'm ecstatic about that.
Yeah. So anyway, beautiful, beautiful music from the defense. You're certainly not wrong to say it's about matchups, but I would respond by saying not totally, because in other words, when the 49ers play like that, I think that there's only, what do you think, 2, 3 teams that could even hope to match up with
2
them.
or 3.
Yeah, like that. Like, yes, it's about matchups. I think it's also about circumstance. And that does not mean it's an excuse, because I mean this for every team in the NFL. For every team, we cannot remove circumstance. Circumstance can be travel. It can be injuries. It can be matchups. It can be all the other stuff that could fit under there that we can't even think of, which might be something like what Andrew Wiggins went through at the end of last year, which we don't even know what it was. But like, there's stuff going on inside a locker room. The reason yesterday for me was so great is that the 3-game losing streak brought to the front of our minds, maybe they're just flat out not who we thought they were. And maybe this is going to be one of those groups that's bigger in name than it is in execution. They weren't for 5 games, then they were for 3. And we all know the stories in sports of teams that get put together and you're like, man, it's just an all-star roster.
Right.
And then it just doesn't work. And for 2 weeks, I'm like, geez, is that where this is heading? And yesterday, for me, was a firm stamp that no.
Of those 3 games,
that's not where this is heading.
I get that, but of the 3 games, only one was a classic beatdown.
Agreed.
And you mentioned it in our show meeting where the Cleveland game was going to be won if the kicker makes a kick that's an 87% certainty, and he missed it. And Minnesota, the one play at the end of the half was a little bit odd, and that game kind of went a little sideways, and you lost. Cincinnati just flat beat you, and they beat you because of where they were coming off a bye, and you were at the long end of an 8-game stretch where it was really a 12-week stretch because you had 4 preseason games, and you had camp before that. You had no break all the way up into that moment, and then they came in, and they beat you up. They knocked you around. They dominated you. That's fine. It's kind of like last year when you went to Atlanta on the second game of a 2-game road trip, and Atlanta kind of did the same thing. They did it on the ground, and you were injured, and same thing here. You had injured players, and Cincinnati got you. So now you get refreshed. You get Debo back. You get Trent back. You get Dre Greenlaw back for the most part. He was in and out a little bit based on sub packages, but you go to Jacksonville, not a road game, off a bye, and you look great in all 3 phases. That's the kind of game that makes you feel like, okay, maybe Vegas again.
Looked great in 2.5 phases. Let's just a quick
Which one
aside.
are you going to disparage?
Well, I'm sorry. There's no way that any of us feel comfortable with Jake Moody kicking the ball. Period.
Did he have a miss that I missed?
Dude, he put a 30-some-odd yarder an inch. The one at the end of the buzzer at the half.
Did it go in? Did they only get 2 points because it was close?
I didn't rip him. I simply said there's no way you feel comfortable.
Oh, I feel great about Jake. Jake's back.
No, you don't.
Moody's back.
No, you don't. I don't feel comfortable. You don't feel comfortable.
He didn't miss a PAT.
No.
And he didn't miss a field goal.
The man is 0 for 1 in the super duper it matters on this kick moment.
Agreed.
And on some of the other ones, he's wobbly AF. Okay.
Wisnowski, a punt to the 1-yard line.
Oh, great.
No kick returns allowed.
Yeah, that's why I gave him a half.
Yeah.
2.5.
That's overly harsh, which is not normally your lane.
2 3/4. I'm just pointing out that if I'm going to walk away from that game and I got one thing where I'm like, it's Jake Moody.
How about your guy throwing balls up for grabs?
Yeah. That's
and
my gunslinger. That's my gunslinger.
Ayuk getting away with a push off in the end zone.
I don't think that, but
it was pretty minor, but he pushed off.
It was a questionable decision at best. Questionable decision, but it worked out, and so it worked out. You know what I mean? But I'm with Kyle Shanahan. That's a much more worthwhile conversation if the rest of the game didn't look like it looked. The rest of the game looked fantastic. The throw to George Kittle, by the way, you will not see a higher degree of difficulty situation, I think, in NFL.
He had all day to throw that.
Oh, my gosh. But it wasn't even just
That's my fantasy player.
George.
Kittle, yeah.
Oh, that had to feel good. Did you get a dub?
It's not over.
But you're in line?
Your boy's 1-8.
Come on.
And I'm going up against an expatriate.
An expatriate?
Yeah.
Who this?
Alan Stiles.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like
no.
He had a player who used to play for the Patriots.
The actual expression of expat.
Yeah.
And I love Stiles, but God, I need this win.
You do.
It's a must win for me, Mark.
At 1-8, it might not be. You might already be playing for next year.
I might, but if I can go to 6-8,
if you go to 6-8,
my point total is such that I would win most of the tiebreakers.
I do feel like you're gonna have to be 7-7. Maybe even 8-6 to get in, but who knows?
We have 6 teams of the 14 to make it. If I get to 6-8, then at least I can think about having a chance.
Yeah.
5-9, no chance.
Well, good luck.
Thanks.
I'm rooting for you. I got a probable tonight as well against JT. I got a probable. I think he needs Javonte Williams to score like 25 or something like that to beat me. Possible, plausible, unlikely. Anyway. Yeah. There's your fantasy update for the day.
Thank you.
I think Jake Moody was my kicker, so maybe that's why I got a little extra.
Okay.
No, but it all worked. I got all the points, but good Lord, you're looking at him like, dude.
Never in doubt.
Are you?
I got McManus, and he had his first field goal was like looked like me off the tee, at number 5 at Berkeley Country Club. 4 right.
But it went through. Well, Moody's did too. There was clearly some wind.
Crying.
There was some wind heading that way.
Counts.
There in the first day. Yep,
Let's go.
count it. But beyond that, look, they looked absolutely fantastic. And I threw this question out to Kyle Rudolph last night, and I was kind of leading him to water. I figured he'd drink. We've now been talking to one another for 10 weeks, and I figured I knew how he was going to answer it, and I was correct. I said, Kyle, talk to me. Everybody's got warts. And maybe even if the Eagles don't, let's see what they're about to do in this next month of action, because it couldn't be harder. It could not be harder what the Eagles are about to try to do. If they can go through that 3-1, I'll, as they say, give them all the flowers that we can give them. But if we just presume, because largely when you get to the playoffs, you're going to get everybody's best effort. I don't know if everyone's going to be fully healthy, but you're going to get everybody's best play calls. You're going to get everybody's you empty the kitchen sink. So if you presume everybody's at their best, who's the best? He did not even pause that long. He said the San Francisco 49ers.
He's pandering.
Why would he do that? Guy's sitting in the state of Florida.
He's pandering to you.
Talking to me. Why would he pander to me?
Because he's still trying to get to know you and curry favor with the guy who does radio in the Bay Area. That's what I'm hearing. I didn't hear the bit.
Yeah, it wasn't a bit. It was just a straight up question. Right. What do you think? It's the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco 49ers. When they've been at their best, it's hard to argue that looks like the best. Nobody's at their best every week, but if I had to say, give me the most dominating, impressive performances of the year by any NFL team, I actually think the Eagles and Chiefs largely get left out of the conversation. It's Baltimore's 2 wins.
It's Dallas.
Well, but those aren't against good teams.
No, but those are dominating. They're against pro football players.
But dominating performances against good teams. It's what Baltimore did to Detroit. I forget who's the other team that went in there and absolutely got canned. Who got just totally canned by the Baltimore Ravens? They've done it twice. I'll look it up. But anyway, the Niners' performances against Dallas and Jacksonville have to be up there in terms of top 5 performances of the year by any team, I think.
Okay. I mean, you talk about Dallas beating the Giants 49-17, and the Niners had to struggle to beat the Giants.
Tommy DeVito, you're leaving out the quarterback situation, which is rather large. They were 17 and a half point
Daniel
favorite.
Jones is a guy who you've derided ever since he got that contract. And then when the Niners, they didn't struggle to beat him, but it was a bit of a scuffle early on.
Yeah, it wasn't their greatest game.
I think it's just matchup related.
The New York Giants are 1-8.
You could look at any game, anytime, any matchup, and that to me, it comes down to situation and it comes down to matchup and locale. And I'm kind of waiting for the Niners to go to Philadelphia, and then we'll see exactly what the Niners can do in a spot that is difficult. A road spot against a team that'll be playing for the number 1 overall seed. And I know they've got Kansas City and Buffalo before that. So it's going to be a difficult lead up for Philadelphia.
It's going to be fun.
But they're coming off a bye, and the Eagles they're in control of the NFC.
They are for now. Yeah, although they're only a game ahead of Detroit. Don't leave them out of this. Detroit looked really good. By the way, it was Seattle. Seattle's the other team I was trying to think of that went to Baltimore and just got totally outclassed.